The Oresund is not a wide strait. On a clear day, you can see Sweden from the Danish shore, 5 miles, perhaps a little more. On the night of October 3rd, 1943, that distance felt immeasurable. Below the deckboards of a small fishing vessel, 8 people lay still. They did not speak. They had been told not to, under any circumstances, make a sound. Above them, a fisherman named Erik Bodger stood at the wheel and watched the dark water for shapes that shouldn't be there. Germany had occupied Denmark since April 1940. For 3 years, the occupation had a strange quality to it. Formal, negotiated, at times almost mannered. The Danish government remained in place. Daily life continued. But in the late summer of 1943, that arrangement collapsed. Danish workers went on strike. Sabotage increased. In August, the Germans dissolved the Danish government and declared martial law. What followed was a decision that would define the occupation. German authorities planned a roundup of Denmark's Jewish population, approximately 8,000 people, to begin on the night of October 1st, 1943. Word leaked. A German diplomat named George Duckwitz informed Danish contacts of the plan days before it was set to begin. The warning spread through churches, through neighborhoods, through whispered conversations at kitchen tables. An improvised rescue operation took shape. Not a military operation, not a government program. Fishermen, doctors, teachers, shopkeepers, ordinary Danes began moving Jewish families to the coast. Hundreds of small boats made crossings to neutral Sweden. Over the following weeks, roughly 7,000 Jews escaped. It was not clean. It was not guaranteed. Some were caught. Boats were stopped. People were taken. Erik Bodger was 34 years old in 1943. He had grown up in the fishing village of Snekkersten on the northeastern coast of Sealand, where the strait is at its narrowest. His father had fished the same waters. His wife Maren kept the household accounts and helped at the local cooperative. They had 2 children, a daughter, 9 years old, a son, 6. Erik knew the Goldstein family from the market in Helsingør. Isak Goldstein was a watchmaker. The 2 men were not close friends, but they were neighbors in the way that small towns make neighbors, familiar, reliable, present at the edges of each other's lives for years. Erik had not thought much about the occupation in political terms. He followed the news. He was cautious. He had a boat, a family, a livelihood that depended on the water and on staying out of trouble. On the evening of October 2nd, a neighbor came to the Bodger house. He spoke quietly and quickly. The roundup had begun. Danish families throughout the country were being warned to leave immediately. Isak Goldstein, his wife Rivka, and their 4 children had nowhere to go. Erik did not answer right away. Maren stood at the kitchen doorway. They looked at each other across the room. What they understood, without stating it, was that helping meant arrest if discovered. It meant the same deportation that threatened the people they would be hiding. German patrol boats moved through the strait. Informers existed. The harbor was watched. Erik told the neighbor to bring the Goldsteins after dark. He went down to check the boat. They came in 2 groups, the Goldsteins and 4 others Erik had not met before. A young woman, an elderly man who moved slowly, 2 brothers in their 20s, 8 people in total. There was almost no room. Erik had laid boards across the hold and covered them with a tarpaulin. He told everyone, through the neighbor who translated, to lie flat and not move until he said otherwise. The crossing would take 45 minutes if the engine held. He left at midnight. The German patrol boats operated on schedules, but the schedules were not always predictable. Erik navigated by landmarks and by feel. This water had been his since boyhood. He kept the engine low. He watched for lights. At one point, a beam swept across the water from the Swedish side. He cut the engine and waited. The boat rocked in silence for 4 minutes. Then he started the engine again and continued. He reached the Swedish shore at approximately 1:40 in the morning. He helped each person out of the hold. The elderly man had to be lifted. No one said much. It was cold. Isak Goldstein gripped Eric's hand briefly at the dock. Eric turned the boat around and headed back. Eric made 3 crossings in October 1943. He was not alone in this. Along the northeastern coast of Sealand, dozens of fishermen did the same. The crossings were not coordinated in any formal sense. They happened through networks of trust and necessity. He was never arrested. Not every fisherman was that fortunate. Some were caught, their passengers taken, themselves imprisoned or sent to labor camps. The Goldstein family spent the remainder of the war in Sweden. Isak returned to Helsingør in 1945. His shop on Main Street reopened that summer. Eric continued fishing. He did not speak publicly about what he had done. Neither did Maren. In the village, people knew generally what had happened during those weeks in October. It was not discussed in detail. What remains from that October is not drama. It is a pattern, repeated, imperfect, dangerous, and human. Families assessed what they had, weighed what they stood to lose, and made a choice. Most of the people who made those crossings returned to quiet lives. They had not set out to be remembered. They had set out, most of them, simply because someone needed to get across the water. The strait is still there, 5 miles, perhaps a little more. Ordinary people, impossible times.